Hello everybody, today I would like to talk to you about my three color white, blue and black control deck, which features this card and Armageddon. I know that this is not a very original idea, but still I haven't really seen this particular combination of different strategies, and it looked quite good on paper. I haven't run it in a big tournament, but I have played my fair share against some competitive decks, and I must say that it's quite a good build. Currently this is still a draft of this deck, so if I decide to bring it to a tournament, and I'm not going to play in a tournament anytime soon, then I will maybe modify it in some way and add some sideboard. So I will be curious to know what your ideas for this deck would be. But anyway, now let's talk about it, and I will tell you about how this deck is supposed to work. First of all, let's go through the mana base. There are underground seas, tundras, scrublands of course. Also have got only one island and a lot of swamps, because we really count on this black mana. We want to have it early on for him to Tourach, for Hypnotic Specter. This is what we want to have really early. We also have got 4 Cities of Brass, of course, Library of Alexandria. We don't have any special engines to use with Library of Alexandria. We do have one Ancestral Recall, but there is no Time Twister. And you know that Library of Alexandria is an incredibly beautiful and powerful card. If you are on the draw, of course you want to activate it as soon as you can and do quite a lot of crazy stuff, but it's not the best card in this deck, so to say. And I mean that this is not the best deck to run this particular card, because we will empty our hand quite early, but still. One strip mine, also a default solution. Note that we do not have Mishra's Factories here. I simply feel that there is no place for them. We have got the power mana cards, Lotus, Mox Jet, Mox Pearl, and Mox Fire as well. Then, talking about some other utility cards and also mana in some way, we have got a playset of Dark Rituals. We want to have Dark Rituals early on, again, to be able to get him to Tourach, Hypnotic Specter, Big Mind Twist, and also sometimes it may be useful to cast a big creature such as let's say Serra Angel or Mahamoti Djinn earlier than normal. So Dark Ritual is definitely a useful card in this deck. Next we have got Mind Twist, my beautiful black bordered Spanish copy that I got from my trip to Madrid, and Ancestral Recall, of course, Time Walk. So as you can see, we've got plenty of power cards. And then let's talk about the main idea of this deck. So the idea is to have a combination of controlish cards with the discard strategy that we can use early on. We have got a playset of hymns, of course, hence this is an Atlantic deck. In Eternal Central rules we may have some modifications. Of course we would keep the hymns and we'll have 4 strip mines, so this might be even better in some way, but maybe we'll cut some of the bigger creatures because there will probably be no way to do that, to cast them all. Then we have got 4 counter spells. One of them is a Mana Drain. Again, depending on the matchup, we may have some extra copies in our sideboard. So as you can see, we have answers to pretty much everything. We have got Swords to Plowshares, 3 of them. In the sideboard we may also have Disenchants. Balance is a great card, depending on whether you are able to play around it or not. This might also be devastating for your opponent. And you know, it's only now that I'm slowly learning how to use Balance, and of course it's great to use when you have got some powerful artifacts and when this benefits you more than your opponent. But Then we have got a very important card, which is Armageddon. And again, I would like to say that I definitely don't usually see main deck Armageddon in decks like this. And the idea here is that we may disrupt our opponent's hand by casting him to Tourach. Then we might, maybe with mana acceleration sometimes, put a couple of creatures, maybe use Preacher to grab our opponent's creature and make use of it. And then Armageddon, leaving our opponent with very few mana sources because of this card and also because of what we have been able to do, thus gaining a huge advantage. And again, held by Hypnotic Specter, we can certainly expect that our opponent will run out of mana or any good cards for quite a long time. Demonic Tutor here is of course always useful for several purposes. If I don't have any particular silver bullet type answer in mind, such as, let's say, Swords to Plowshares or Disenchant or some other removal, then I would usually just tutor for Ancestral Recall, and it works quite well. Sometimes, of course, for a creature, you know how this card works, how Demonic Tutor works. Then we have got Hypnotic Specters playset, of course. Again, I emphasize that it's very important to have these Hypnotic Specters, protecting them somehow with your counter magic if needed. This is a great card. This is an amazing addition to him to Tourach and Mind Twist. Then we have got the stars of Old School Magic, Serra Angels. They are incredibly good, as you know. And the only downside might be that they are white, in case our opponent is running a mono black deck maybe, or some black deck with a splash, if they have protection from white. But other than that, of course, this is the usual winner. In case this doesn't work, we have Sengir Vampire, only one of them. I haven't been able to use this ability many times, but you know that it's good. And my favorite, Mahamoti Djinn. Mahamoti Djinn, I always feel that he is wronged in many ways, because if he was printed in Arabian Nights, and remember, this was the original alpha card, right? It's very interesting that it was originally printed in alpha, not in Arabian Nights. So even before this Arabian Nights themed set, we already had Mahamoti Djinn. And again, if he had been printed in Arabian Nights, maybe with some minor reprint, this would have been an incredibly expensive card. But as it is now, as you know, it's definitely very, very cheap in terms of money. But in terms of mana, 6 mana, 5/6. I have mentioned this already, but I will say this again, that for a very long time it was considered that these stats are too good to be true. And as a result, you had Sibyl Spirit, which was released several years later, and it had a major drawback that if you attacked with it, your opponent could draw a card every time that it attacked. So powerful it was. And in Invasion, you also had one weaker version of this card, which had to count the number of permanents, and if blue was the dominant color, then it would gain -2/-2. So this is not important, but I just wanted to emphasize that it's a great card, and I feel that it is very often underestimated, because of course people say, yes, this is very expensive in terms of mana, 6 mana should win your game. But let's think of this once again. It kills every creature in the game, right? Every playable creature. It doesn't kill Force of Nature, it doesn't kill, let's say, Yawgmoth Demon, which see basically no play, but it does kill all your staples. So it's an incredibly good card with no drawback. And 1 extra mana, if we have got such an abundance of mana, is definitely playable. I have been able to play him. So Mahamoti Djinn, always a card I appreciate. And we also have 2 Preachers. Again, the idea is that we will be able to play some threats early, to eliminate some threats of our opponent early, and then using Preacher steal one of our opponent's creatures, and then Armageddon for the win. And we basically have our opponent's threats. So there it is, there is this deck. Once again, let's take a look at it. I again want to emphasize that as for sideboard ideas, it's pretty simple. Of course, you will have Circle of Protection red, you will have all other silver bullet type solutions, you will have disenchants, maybe a couple disenchants would go to the main deck, and you may have some extra counter magic, you may even have some other circles of protection, or maybe Wrath of God, depending on the kind of metagame you have got, and maybe even Sinkholes. I was actually considering for some time to use Sinkholes instead of him to Tourach, and this is definitely what I would do. This is what I would have to do if I played Swedish, not Atlantic. So there it is. Thank you for watching. If you have got any ideas on how this deck can be improved, please let me know, because I'm really considering running this deck in one of the future tournaments. I suppose it can be more or less competitive, but also interesting and a bit original in how it performs. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.